Okay, good morning, Dean Harris. How are you doing?
Hey there, Valentina. I'm well, and yourself?
I'm doing great. So, we are here today to talk about your office, the Dean of Students. So, let's
Yeah,
just get started. What can you
yeah,
tell us about the office, and what you do in your role?
for sure. The Dean of Students Office, we pretty much exist as to support students that might be having any type of difficulty, any type of hardship, find support and resources on campus. It could be anything from I don't know where I fit in on campus to I'm having some family issues, some financial hardships, whatever the case may be. And our job is essentially be that advocate and support to kind of get you connected to the on-campus resources or off-campus resources that's going to best meet your needs.
That's awesome. When I think of the Dean of Students office, I think of like the principal's office in high school.
Yeah,
But that's not really what your office is, but it kind of serves a similar role. How can you like compare that and explain to students why it's different than the high school experience?
yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, the Dean of Students Office is not about getting people in trouble. It's not about you getting in detention and all that type of stuff, right? Doesn't happen in college. However, our role is to kind of serve as a support system. Have you ever personally, either yourself or you have friends who've like, man, I went to this office and they sent me to this office and they sent me to this office and like nobody can help me. Nobody can give me what I need,
Yeah.
right? And so our hope is to try to eliminate some of those barriers and challenges that students struggle with to get access to information and to really call up the office themselves or to walk them over to the place that they need to be to make sure that barrier is not happening. And so many times if the dean of students office is reaching out on behalf of a student, because of the office and the nature of our office, people are more inclined to support students. And so I always tell students, say, if you have any type of issue, any type of difficulty, you lose a loved one when you're in school, you have some academic challenges with your professor, you need uh, any type of emotional or mental health support, whatever the case may be, start with us, and then we'll make sure that you get connected to the right place.
Awesome. That brings me to my next question. When do you feel is the best time to reach out to the Dean of Students office? And is there like a particular time, mostly when in your first year, in your last year, when you're struggling? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, good question. Literally anytime is okay. I would always advocate that the earlier the better. Many times students feel like there's other people who probably need that resource more than I do, or I'm not really sure if y'all can help me or not, so I'll rather not reach out, or it's not that bad yet. I'll wait till it gets worse. Like the earlier we're able to provide the intervention, the more successful you'll be academically, the more successful you'll be in trying to navigate whatever type of issue that you're going through. So I would say the earlier the better. The moment something happens, let us know. We have a lot of resources, a lot of tools at our disposal to be able to get students connected. And so the moment that there's something that comes up, connect with us and we'll help you from there.
That's really great. And I feel like a lot of students don't understand what kind of situations you can go to this office for. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate more on that? Like, what specifically, if I'm a student, I walk into your office, what are the types of things that you will hear students talk about that they need help with?
hmm Literally anything from um I am brand new to campus. I don't have any friends. I don't know how to get involved. I don't know where my classes are. I don't know where this office is to experiencing homelessness and food insecurity to I got injured physically and I'm having some transportation issues with my car, or I have a medical appointment. I'm going to miss class. I don't know what I should do. Any type of issue, mental health, physical health, financial issue, you can connect with us. And if we're not the office that provides the actual solution, we're at least able to kind of get you pointed in the right direction to the people who can, and oftentimes help expedite some of those processes so you're not waiting, to get the support that you need.
Right. So you kind of just basically help students with whatever comes in their way. Where do I get them to? Where do they need to go to get their help?
Right. And that's going to look very different from student to student. So sometimes it might be that we're reaching out to your professors on your behalf. So let's just say, hey, I got sick, or I lost a loved one, or there's something that's going to keep me out of school for an extended period of time. our office has a process that's called an excused absence. So if you know that you're going to be absent, you can let our office know and we'll reach out to your professors. That way, those absences aren't counted against you. Typically, they require that you submit some type of like documentation. So, a doctor's note or an obituary or something along those, police report, something that indicates that you actually had this circumstance happen. And then once we get that, we'll reach out to your professors. Typically, the professors have discretion when it comes to how they work with students, but 9.5 times out of 10, if our office reaches out to say, hey, we can verify that Valentina has been going through this difficult time and just ask that you take that into consideration and working with her, that they're really great colleagues to work with and they'll do whatever they can to support you.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
That leads me also to my next question though. If I'm going through something that is happening ongoing through my semester,
Yeah.
let's say that I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish my classes, what
Hmm.
can your office help me with?
Yeah. So there's a couple different things I think, a couple different ways in which I see that playing out. The one um, can be just simply reaching out to the professor to say, hey, we can verify that Glenn is experiencing these hardship circumstances. Are you willing to work with this student in any particular way? And sometimes just that open door. So the student feels like they don't want to have to tell their story 5 and 6 times to all of their professors. And
Yeah.
so just us being able to have that initial conversation with them and then to be able to advocate on their behalf is one way. Other times we might advocate or ask if an incomplete would be appropriate. And an incomplete is pretty much a verbal agreement between the student and the professor to kind of put the class on pause and finish it at a later time. And typically they have up to 1 semester to complete that work before the incomplete changes to an F. So when grades come out, instead of receiving an A, B, C, D, etc., they receive an I. That I is just a temporary placeholder. And then once you make up that work, the I would then be replaced by whatever grade you would have earned. And that doesn't impact your GPA. Then there are other times where a student just like, man, like I'm just really not in a position where I'm able to complete the semester and I don't want my GPA to be impacted. Or maybe it's just one or two particular classes that this hardship really impacted for whatever reason. Our office is able to do a hardship withdrawal. And so to kind of provide some context, every semester there's a withdrawal deadline. And that withdrawal deadline, if a student withdraws from a class before the withdrawal deadline, it shows up as a W, doesn't have any impact on their GPA. If they withdraw after the withdrawal deadline, it shows up as a WF, pretty much shows up on your GPA the same way that an F would. So a hardship withdrawal, whether it be for one class or all of your classes, allows you to be withdrawn from that class the same way it would be as if you withdrew before the deadline. And so your GPA is not impacted. And so we're able to process that for a student even up until the semester is over, so long as they don't complete the class. So once you take a final or once you submit that final assignment, you're no longer eligible to do a hardship withdrawal, but everything up until that point, we will be able to support you with.
Awesome. I also have another question then. If let's say I'm not the one experiencing a hardship or something in my life that's impeding my academic success, but I know of somebody who is,
Yeah.
what can I do? How can your office help me get help to that person?
Yeah. So I think kind of the heart of that question is how do I get in contact with you? And so there's several different ways in which you can get in contact with us. There's a Dean of Students office representation pretty much on every campus except Blue Ridge currently. But they have great support staff there as well. So you can just walk into the Dean of Students office and on the Gainesville campus, we're in the Student Center, Suite 201. And so if you are familiar with academic advising or the admissions office, we're right over there. You can call us, you can email us, but a lot of folks have been using our flight support form, and this is a way in which you can refer yourself to say, hey, I need some help and I don't know where to get started, or hey, I have a friend who I'm really concerned about who I think is going through a difficult time and they need some support too. Let me share my screen really quickly, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So, can you see this?
Yes.
All right. So this is just the Dean of Students homepage, and on here, the first thing that you do is it says flight support. Get support for UNG Nighthawk. Support starts here, and once you click on this form, you'll be able to kind of fill out some general information for yourself and who it is that you're concerned about, whether you're concerned about yourself or you're concerned about a roommate, a friend, etc. And then you'll be able to kind of see here, here's a lot of the different things that we support students with, whether it be through anxiety, through emotional distress, foster care, housing concerns, mental health, physical health. So you can let us know what your concerns there are, and then be able to kind of describe in more detail, um, the circumstances and what's going on there. And then once you submit this form, it'll come directly to our office. And someone from either myself or one of my colleagues will be able to then follow up to say, hey, we got your concern. We want to see how we can help. And so most of the time we'll set up a time to call them or Zoom them or Teams them or whatever is most convenient, just to kind of learn a little bit more and see how we can assist.
That's awesome. I didn't know you could do that all from just the website. That's really cool,
Yeah.
actually. And that actually leads me to, I guess this is the last question. I've heard you guys have something called like a step care model.
Mhm.
What does that actually mean, and how does that affect me as a student? How does that affect how you provide resources to students?
Great question. So I want you to kind of think about step care model as like getting all of the information that you need about a particular situation kind of at the click of your finger. But it comes in different tiers, different levels. And so what we've seen over the past several years between the Dean of Students Office and student counseling is that there are trends, there are themes that students will show up with every year. Common things that impact the student's ability to be successful academically, and just to be able to kind of function. And so what we've developed is a website that's called the Step Care Model, which allows you to be able to kind of just select a concern. Let's just say anxiety has been something that you've been navigating, right? And so when you select that, we have a list of specific resources that are tailored directly to anxiety, at a um, bunch of different steps. So there's some self-directed self-care steps, which are like anxiety screening tools, or am I stressed versus anxious, and how do I know the difference? There's going to be apps, articles, different things that you can just kind of do on your own that doesn't really require you to go to counseling or anything along those lines. One of the philosophies that we've developed recently is everyone needs support, but not everyone needs counseling, right? And so there are definitely times in which not everyone, but people may need counseling, and that's great. But everybody needs support at some level, and so we want to be able to kind of help provide some self-supporting things that you can do. Talk about some of the campus supports that are going to be available to you, whether maybe it's anxiety around academics, right? So it might be connecting you with tutoring or the writing center or academic coaching, or perhaps it's trying to figure out how do I deal with my stress in a more healthy manner. And so it's connecting you with recreational wellness, right? Then there's the peer supports, people who are peers who you can connect with to kind of talk through some of those things. Together All is one of those features. It's an online community that essentially allows you to connect with people in an anonymous way, to kind of talk through whatever issues or circumstances you have going on. And so a lot of students have found that to be really helpful when they sign up as a UNG student, using their email account. There's different workshops, and psycho ed sessions. There's a one-on-one meeting with the therapist that's just like, hey, I'm having this particular issue. I need some support. And what they'll do is they'll walk you through some resources, some support strategies, and they'll say, hey, if that doesn't work, come back and let us know, and we'll see how we can assist you further. There's group therapy, individual therapy, and then if you need to be referred off campus, there's off campus referrals. So there's some of that for every single one of those 11 or 12 um, topics or categories that you see here. And so students have found that to be really helpful. So I don't have to wait to see someone to get the support that I need. I can find it right there on the website, and then have someone follow up with me.
That is awesome. Well, that was my last question. So I thank you very much for your time, for sharing this with students. I
Yeah.
want to say personally, I did not know about a lot of these resources that UNG had to offer, especially in my first, second, third year. I'm now in my fourth year and I'm learning about all of these great resources. And I hope that students can get that from day one. And I really appreciate you for your time, taking so much energy to explain to us what your office actually does and how they can help us as students.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad that you shared that. That's the goal, right? Is to make
Right.
students more aware as to the supports. Listen, one of the things, if I can just leave a word of encouragement to everybody, um, unfortunately, being in college does not exempt you from life. Life still happens.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's not a matter of if it'll happen, it's just a matter of when. And so when life does happen, know that there are people here who care about you, who want to see you do well, and that you don't have to figure this stuff out by yourself. They actually pay us to help you navigate those things, believe it or not. And so feel free to reach out to the Dean of Students office. Anything that we can do to support you, we want to make sure that we can do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dean Harris. And I
All
guess
right.
that concludes our interview. You have a good one.
See you, Valentina. Take care.